ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Chamber of the Wraith. My name is Brian, and today, I'm going to just focus on one video today, and because I am just a mite bushed, but if I get my second win, I'll try and do the other video, and that other video, I've decided, will be Wraith Online, because today is the day that I get to wrap up the White Lotus Dojo until the stream on the 17th. The Clown Prince of Crime is finally going to be talked about. Everybody say hello to the Joker. This was a character I did not want to see in Mortal Kombat at all, because I genuinely despise the Joker. He's a character that I've just seen too much. I wouldn't mind if, like, DC just chilled and stopped with the Joker for a year or 5. You know what I mean? We could have gotten, like, Deathstroke or Ares, but no. No, we had to get the Clown. Well, it could have been worse, I guess. They could have put Batman in, and then we would have had quite a few questions. Unless it was, like, Flashpoint Batman, then it would be at least close enough, but I don't know how many people would have wanted Flashpoint Batman or Injustice Superman or what have you. So we're going to just start off, as always, with normal attacks that do not go into strings. That Joker Poker. It's funny. Chuck Chaplin. Oh, I see. Supposed to be the Charlie Chaplin. Fritz Trip. Lots of good references here. And then that was 7, so let's do jumping attacks. Okay, first up, Joking Jab. 7 frame down 1, decent range, -4 on block. Sorry, I don't have, my glasses are not in yet, so I cannot see. Then we have Rise Up, which is a 10 frame down 2 with incredible range. And of course, allows for combos. Then we have Silly Sidestep, which is a 10 frame high, which is -3 on block. Also, before I forget, the uppercut is -10 on block, and on flawless block is -20 on block. Then we have Wingtip, which is a 9 frame down 3 with okay range, nothing to write home about, and on block, it is -5 on block. Then we have the Chuck Chaplin, which is another high, 12 frames, but neutral on block. So you can duck under this thing for an uppercut, but if you get hit by it, it's nooch. Then there's the Fritz Trip, which is an 11 frame sweep that is -13 on block, on flawless block, and then what appears to be -8 on normal block. And it's one of those sweeps that leaves you standing, so you could short hop and more easily punish this sweep. Then we have Big Finish, which is the last of the normal pokes. 11 frame down 4, incredible range. Look at that. And on block, it is -13. Sorry, I'm trying to see, and it's kind of hard to see it on the snow. And all of this. No flawless block? Come on. There we go. Yeah, -13 on block. And then we have his jumping attacks. Flying Clown, Full Swing, and Clown Shoes. Nothing to write home about except the jump kicks are really good, and generally the Flying Clown is better for combos because on shorter characters, it works best on Shao Kahn, for instance, but it's a lot harder to land this on shorter characters. Then we have Hop Attacks and Wake Up Attacks, and his Throw, which his forward throw has a crushing blow. Which, there it is. Alright, so first up is Ta-da! Which, this had a glitch where if you did it close enough to the ground, it was like +20 or something ridiculous. Now it is always -16 on short hop. Come on. Thank you. And -11 normally. And then Fritz Slam is with the cane and has a little more range, but slightly slower. And on block, it's -12, so it's slightly less. But generally, Fritz Slam is the way to go just because Fritz Slam has more range. Then we have to talk about his wake-up attacks, which is going to be fairly easy to do. Shao Kahn. And finally... Okay, first up we have Teda, which is its invincible wake-up at 10 frames. And on block it's -7, so mostly safe. Characters with a 7-frame attack, like Joker's down 1, will be able to counter this. And weirdly enough, the invincible works quite well as an invincible, as an anti-air. Speaking of anti-airs, 4 will launch the opponent for combos, as you can see there. And really good for catching opponents in the air. But on block, 4 is -14 on block. And a stair step is -12 on flawless block. Now let's wrap things up with his forward throw, which has a crushing blow. If you use this attack while your fatal blow is on cooldown, it's a really cool throw thing. It used to be that the Joker was able to use Fatal Blow in a combo, and then within about 10 seconds, about 10 seconds of using the Fatal Blow, he was able to go for the Crushing Blow throw again, thus potentially guaranteeing upwards of 65% at a minimum. Now let's talk strings, because Joker has a lot of them. Oh my Jesus. Does he ever have a lot? There we go. So first up is One Bad Day, which is a meterless launcher that has a high in the middle. So you do need to be careful with how you use this. But if you are wondering what happens if you try for it twice, the second hit knocks the opponent to the ground, just like Sonya. How Sonya has a meterless launcher, or Collector has a meterless launcher, but if you go for the string again, then you can't really do much of anything because the opponent's just knocked down to the ground. And of course, this is really helpful. Hold on. Come on. For meterless damage. That was 28% completely meterless, and you can probably get more. Then there's Super Sanity. Oh, before I forget, the attack is also -2 on block. But the second hit is a high, or the final hit is a high, meaning that... Hold on. While there's no flawless block gap there, if you see a Joker trying to go for that particular string, you can just neutral duck and then try and go for an uppercut punish, because it's 23 frames, 26 frames, and then there's the -2, leaving Joker vulnerable to this. And one thing that's really cool is that you can actually use it in conjunction with a crushing blow for even more damage. That was 38.5% no bar, and almost 40% for 1 bar, which is kind of crazy. Then we have The Man Who Laughs. Oh, before I forget, Super Sanity. Hold on. Is -12 on normal block. And there's a flawless block gap in the middle that leaves him at -17. Then we have The Man Who Laughs, which leaves the opponent standing and can be special cancelled. So, this is your safest option overall, because it's a mid and -6. Only Raijin is able to punish you, or the Terminator with his down 1. Then we have a Laugh, which is tricksy because it involves a low. It's -6 on block. The card trick is -8. Oh, it's 4. And it becomes more safe as you go. -3 and -9, I think that is. You know what, I'm just going to stand up and actually get closer to the screen so I can actually see what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's much better. But there we go. This string is -6, and, of course, because of this, any overheads you might have, you can go for mix. I get caught by this a lot. Then we have Pale Moonlight and Harlequin of Hate. These both share a similar startup. Trip the opponent up with a body, and then if you press X, or press 3, you slip a low in there, and then if you just do Harlequin of Hate, you get a projectile. So you're zoning, you're keeping the opponent away with bodies. It is pure comedy, and I love it. The Pale Moonlight is -11, and Harlequin of Hate is -19. However, look at all the pushback you get from Harlequin of Hate. It's kind of tricky to try and punish somebody from this distance. Then there's Show's Over, which is one of Joker's most damaging strings. And while this doesn't launch on its own and is unsafe at -11, if this counters or punishes at any point, as you can see, you could get combos off of this. Oh, I messed that up. I thought I wasn't going to connect. Oh no! Damn it. But as you can see, the combo potential is ridiculous. Let's try a different ender. There we go. 37%, and I didn't even have to end it with a special move. And look at the distance that we have. Then we have Joke's on You, which starts low. And is -1. However, there's a flawless block gap in the middle that makes it -6. The string itself ends in a launch, in a knockdown. That's what I should say. And then there's Grand Entrance, which knocks the opponent down. And this crushing blow requires that the second hit is the first hit to connect. So, like that, if it actually connects. Now you might be wondering, what do I do there? I still have the recovery. Well, it becomes special cancelable if you get the timing right. Just like that. And then the damage you can net out of that is pretty scary. However, the thing you should keep in mind is that you don't actually get the overhead to come out if Grand Entrance is forward 3, it's flawless block. And if it's blocked in the first place, it's -6. So you kind of give up your turn for that sort of thing. I'm going to try something real quick. Ah, come on. Come on! There it is. Look at that, almost 39% because of that. And of course you can get closer to 42% if you just do the amplified, but I'm not going to show that because we need to talk about stuff. Which is namely his universal special moves. First up is Batsy Poo. A fairly strong projectile that's a little bit slow and knocks down. And if you want to be tricky, you can hold it to delay it.
It's dark in there. Don't bats like the dark? Wait, who's that? No, just a clown.
And then you can hold it for long enough to have a gag moment and shoot the opponent, or and delay it that way, thus mixing up the opponent with your zoning. If you amplify, you get a big ol' rocket that can set up some pretty nasty damage situations. Hang on. So let's try this. Hold on. Oh, come on. I know this works. There we go. Not the most effective use of a single bar, but I mean, it's not awful. Especially if you use this and just keep it simple. to knock them down, to hurt them. Then, and speaking of, next we have Bird Boy Beatdown. Oh, and before I forget, look at the knockback on a flawless block. So Bird Boy Beatdown is an overhead that sends the opponent back. On Amplify, it does a little more damage. And if you land 3 of these amplifies during the course of the fight, you get this crushing blow. Which is actually not that bad. As far as damage goes, it doesn't seem that crazy. But where it gets crazy is if you combine crushing blows with crushing blows. Look at that. That was 47% that required 2 crushing blows. It's kind of nuts the kind of damage that Joker can get off of just 2 crushing blows, because they can link into each other. It's like how Liu Kang is able to store his bicycle kicks. So, I just want to see what does more damage. That does more damage. So, you get this, and do this, and bam! 47% once again. And if you get the uppercut, I believe you get slightly less. It's very tricky to land that for some reason. There we go. Oh, you get slightly more. It becomes 47.5%. Nothing to shake a stick at, I'll tell you that much. Then we have C, C, D, D, E, G, E, C. In case you couldn't tell what that is actually the tune for Pop Goes the Weasel. Listen very closely. If you could hear that, that's actually what that is named by. So I'm just going to call it Pop Goes the Weasel, or the Jack-in-the-Box attack. It's a delayable attack that lands mid and knocks the opponent down. And then you can use it to kind of get some distance. Granted, if you have a little more distance from that is how you would use that to become +1. You become +1 from this because it hits at its last active frame, and while it doesn't always land, the opponent gets too eager and dashes in, they're going to get clobbered. So they have to respect that, especially if you amplify it. It becomes a big ol' bouncing projectile that can help with zoning. But here's the thing. The attack itself is an armor break, meaning that it is in every single variation. It's a little bit tricky to land, but it works best in the corner, so I'm just going to show that real quick. Here. As you can see, it resets for ridiculous combo potential. And you didn't even have to meter burn it. But the thing is, you can absolutely meter burn this thing. I'll get to that later. But if you meter burn this thing, the launch becomes a lot bigger. So you can use it to extend combos. If you didn't suck with the timing like I do. Okay, I know what I need to do. Bad timing. Bad timing. Oh. But look at that. Even if I dropped it, I got almost 40%. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I can make this work. Oh. How about this, then? Let's trade that second launch. Nah, it's not gonna work. No! This is the trouble with training mode. Sometimes you forget what you're doing. Damn. Okay, so I'm gonna stop doing that for now and move on to the Amplify. Look at the damage that we got out of that. And we can even do this one from center if we set up a delay. Let's do this. See that? Or how about we just forego that launcher? You have to dash in to get him. But... Oh, I went for Fatal Blow even though I don't have that set up. Go for Crushing Blow. Bam! Look at that. 52% damage. That's almost 50% on Shao Kahn. And even if we were to be a little more modest and not meter burn, you could potentially get combos this way if you are quick enough. It's a little bit tricky unless it's... But that's part of the beauty of using the meter burn. You can use it anywhere if it's meter burn. But it's a little bit trickier to do out of the corner. Hold on. Ah, dang it. I'm just going to forgo that for now, just because you've seen it's easier to land the non-amplify version in the corner, but if you're not in the corner and you amplify, he comes back to you, which means it's going to hurt a lot. Now, finally, we get to talk about the abilities in Variation 1, which doesn't change too much on the surface, but it can get pretty nasty. First up, Batsy Poo. You actually get a meterless cancel. So instead of just shoot and throw, you drop it so that you mess with the opponent on zoning. Then there's Batsy Pew Pew, which is pretty infamous for people fighting the Joker because he just sets it down and the opponent has to deal with his zoning. Which is a problem if he can do this. Hold on. Now you're at full screen. Now what are you going to do? And I can just keep this going, keep that going, keep throwing stuff at you, maybe jump in, knock you around, knock you down, do this. See what I mean? The zoning can get really nuts. But then you have to worry about this option. The Puppet Parry. Which only does 90 damage on its own, but... But if you amplify it, you actually get a launcher. For pretty respectable damage too, and a meter and a parry that launches is definitely nothing to sneeze at. Now let's move on to the next variation, the Ace of Knaves, and aka the Jack-in-the-Box variation, because that's what this is all about. This is all about the Jumping Jester attack and the Jack-in-the-Box attack, which I'm going to have to break this into two parts, but I'm sure that's fine. First up, Jumping Jester. It doesn't look like too much. Especially since, wait a minute, why is it not hitting Shao Kahn? Because it only hits on the way up on its own. It loses its active frames as it's coming back down. Now, if you amplify it, it will. And this can provide a really interesting, albeit super difficult to land situation. That situation being, if you get this just right, and you time it just right, you can actually use this, and then potentially get this to combo. It's extremely difficult, and I wouldn't recommend you trying for that unless you're thirsty for those one-frame links. But if you can land this, just remember, in the training mode, you'll know it works if the head suffers from combo scaling. If you see a 50 here, you're good. But if you see a 4250, you failed. And it doesn't actually work. It's very tricky, it's a very tight link, but it is something worth considering. Then there's Jack-in-the-Box, which is, well, what you would expect. Whereas Jumping Jester launches the thing skywards and messes with the opponent because it doesn't actually hit on its own, if you amplify, you run the risk of getting hit by it. Jack in the Box changes that a little bit by creating these Jack in the Box traps. I don't believe they ever go full screen, but yeah, they never go full screen, but they do go pretty far. And they can knock the opponent down. On Amplify, you get a combo. And the tricky thing is what if the opponent decides to block these? Well, blocking the jumping Jester is smart, but doing so against Jack in the Box? Not necessarily, because of all the frame advantage you actually get. See what I mean? You're left in an open enough situation where this can jail. And leave you in a messy situation. And if you knock them down, let's say you do this, then the opponent has to watch their feet and not wake up O'Reilly. Otherwise, they might get bonkered. Now let's move on to the final variation in Madman. This one also has a 2-slot ability, but I feel like they kind of missed the theming here. We'll talk about that right now with Kapow, which is a replacement for Bird Boy Beatdown that knocks down. If you amplify, as you can see, you can get crazy combos. So let's say you do this. Jump in. And then you'd have to pick a new ender because you don't have Bird Boy Beatdown. So you can do something like... like that. And just for one bar, you got 34%, and it looked pretty sweet, if a little bit goofy. This attack has a crushing blow too, but it's very rough. The idea is that you have to punish from maximum range and be a counter or a punish. This leaves the opponent at +5, and Joker knocks them down. This actually used to be, I think, -20 when the Joker launched. So this crushing blow used to be awful. Even before the fact that you have to counter or punish somebody from maximum range, it's a little bit rough. But then we have Getting Lit, which just hits low, and Joker backs up, lighting a trail of gas. And as you can see, it hits low, and the opponent standing in it will take fire damage over time until it goes away. So we can do something like this, lay these down, and then they have a trap, and then you can throw them into it for more damage. Amplifying Getting Lit launches the opponent into the air, which it's a little bit tricky to get a combo off, but it launches them pretty high. And of course, if you just set this down and lay it down, you have a giant trap of fire that the opponent has to respect at all times. Especially when you got throws to consider. Now, let's finish this up with the... allow us to finish this one off with the Fatal Blow, which is called Smile. This is a very interesting crushing blow because it is like Johnny Cage in that you can delay it and cancel it, which is a pretty nasty situation to find yourself in with a character like the Joker that can force all kinds of crazy tricks. You delay it, and away you go. In you go for stibbity stabs. The damage is actually fairly remarkable as far as fatal blows go. It's a little bit higher than average, so the Joker gets a really quick, very nice fatal blow normally, and he can use it to go and do combos. So you can do... what? Oh. this would work better in the corner, but let's say... Nope. Come on. Okay, that's not gonna work because it... There we go. That's just an easy example of what you can potentially do. And in the corner, that can be absolutely terrifying. And now that Fatal Blow's on cooldown, you go for a throw, get the crushing blow, and let's say... go for a combo. This isn't the combo I'm going to show at the end, by the way. This is just an example of the kind of crazy damage you can get with the Joker if you let him get the Fatal Blow range. So, don't forget to be awesome, my friends. I'll see you guys on the other side, and please, enjoy this combo.